today's press conference, we have head coach Kara Consuegra and student athlete J.C. Busick. Charlotte getting set for a swing trip. They will take on Southern Methodist on Sunday and North Texas on Wednesday, following a win over Memphis. Coach, just kind of give your overall thoughts over the win over Memphis and just kind of the current state of your team.
Well, actually, first I want to start by congratulating Coach Fern. I hadn't had a chance to say it publicly. Congratulating him, his staff, his players. I speak for everybody associated with Charlotte women's basketball that we are thrilled. As good of a coach that he is, which now everybody knows, which we already knew from interacting with him on a daily, he's even a better person and a great leader for their young men. And, again, I just want to make sure that we congratulated him and we're going to be supporting him and his program every step of the way. In terms of our team, obviously a much-needed win on Wednesday against Memphis. I felt like, we went through a difficult streak where I think we just kind of lost ourselves. We lost some confidence. We lost some focus on what we're great at and how we can be great together. And I'm really proud of our team for kind of getting through that tough moment and getting on the other side and kind of finding ourselves again, because that's what I felt like happened on Wednesday. I thought we found ourselves again. We played just elite defensively. That was our best defensive performance in several games. We executed the scout really well. We made Memphis take a lot of difficult shots. And then offensively, we executed much better than we had. We played together. We played connected. We found good shots for each other. We were able to weather our turnovers. And, as a result, that was a really great win for us. And, again, much needed as we go into a tough road swing.
Coach, through much of the early season, you talked about improving 1% each day, each game. Where do you see the team standing now with that progress?
Well, I had felt really good about it. I felt like this team throughout non-conference, early conference season, that we were improving. We had, we took some lumps, but, throughout all of those, we were getting better. And then I think we went through this middle stretch of conference season, and we took some really tough losses that really hurt. And in those, I think we lost, that sense of, okay, we still can just keep getting better. And so I think during that stretch, we didn't really, get 1% better. And we didn't play our best basketball, but, I do feel like we're on the other side of that. I feel good about where we are right now. We certainly, this league, as we know, is just extremely difficult. And so, there's a long way to go, but also a lot of opportunities still left. And now that I feel like we have our mental, our mental capacity in the right place, we just need to continue to focus one day at a time.
Coach, I know you don't like to talk about standings so much, but when you look at the standings, 5 of the teams that either are tied or ahead of you, you've already beaten one time this year. Talk a little bit about the parity in this league and how how do you feel maybe you can move up in those standings?
Yeah, well, I actually did talk about standings to our team, which I typically don't do. And again, that was kind of during our tough streak because, as bad as we felt like we played there for about a week and a half, it didn't hurt us that much. And I thought that was important for our team to understand, that because this league is so deep and there is so much parity, you can have a setback or two and still have a lot of opportunity. And I think that's important to keep our eye on that. And understand that opportunity is out there. I do think the league is just incredible. I don't think it's worth talking about who we've beaten at the top and because I think anybody can beat anybody at any point, and that's been demonstrated. We lost to Tulane, who's at the bottom of the standings, and so I don't really think it's about that. I think it's just about we have to continue to just stay focused on being our very best one game at a time.
JC, coming off a really good defensive game against Memphis, talk about the challenge it is to play defense. Sometimes you're matched up a little bit out of position. Talk a little bit about that for us and about what you do to try to get better.
Yeah, every night that we go into a game, I'm just trying to do what our team needs to win, locking in on defensively, whatever my assignment is. It changes from game to game and even moment to moment depending on who I'm in the game with. And so I just have to know that I have to be ready to guard their best player or maybe not at any given time during the game. And so for me, it's just having that mentality of whatever my challenge is in front of me, that I'm going to try to do my best to give our team what they need.
Coach, during the Memphis game, you made a couple adjustments after the real physicality early on in that game. Talk a little bit about that and talk about making changes kind of on the fly in a game like that.
Well, I think, they came out really aggressive and really denying us all over. So we tried to, out of timeouts, take advantage of that when they were kind of out of position and over denying us. We got some real easy one at the hoops, particularly for Deja, because, people certainly deny her harder than everybody else. So I thought our team did a really good job executing those plays for us. And then I thought we did a really good job just recognizing how they were playing us in the ball screen and taking advantage of that. I mean, I thought that was a big difference maker. We were able to really kind of get the touches and the shots that we wanted off of that. We executed really well. And, I think our kids were really locked in our timeouts when we gave them the feedback of, how Memphis was playing us and, what was open and what was available to us.
Coach, now heading out on the road, talk about the difficulty of playing on the road, what kind of challenges, and maybe are there any particular things you do to try to make it more like a home, atmosphere or play?
I mean, I don't know if you can really make it feel like a home atmosphere, but I do think we try to keep our routine the same in terms of, every road game is kind of the same. I do believe in, having consistency and routine helps prepare you for, what you're about to face. I mean, Sunday will be different because it is a doubleheader, and so that will change some things in terms of warm-up and tip time and things of that nature. But I look at that as an opportunity because that's what conference tournament is, and conference tournament is right around the corner, right? In conference tournament play, unless you're the first game of the day, like a lot is dictated very different. And so I think this is going to give us a great opportunity of what that will feel like, kind of give us a rundown before that, and hopefully we can use that as an opportunity.
JC, you've played a lot of road games now. Talk about what you do on the road. Is there differences, or what do you try to do to be focused?
Just going on the road, we know that there's like an extra level of focus that you have to have because you're not just like playing against the other team. You have like their crowd that you have to like kind of drown out. Like when we're here, we have our fans. They're giving us momentum. We just have to know that when we go on the road that their fans are going to be giving them that momentum. So we just know we have to be locked in to make sure that we're not feeding into that.
Coach, you mentioned the doubleheader, an opportunity to play in front of a lot of people. Talk a little bit about for us promoting women's basketball. I know Caitlin Clark sets the record. That's big in women's basketball. And talk about how it helps in some of these things like that.
Well, I think right now women's basketball is at a peak. We've had those moments throughout history, but I think with, obviously Caitlin Clark, I think is leading the charge, and I am certainly biased being an Iowa alum. I'm a big fan. I think she's leading the charge, but it's not just her. I mean, there's a lot of greats in the game right now, and there's a lot of eyes on our sport, and that says a lot about the women in this sport. It's about our student athletes and, the way that they perform, but the way that they prepare, the way that they present themselves, the way that they support each other as a sisterhood. I mean, I think all of that is, really, really fun to see and fun to watch and fun to be a part of. And, I think, what I love about it is it seems that there's a lot more people coming around and understanding that women's basketball is a really entertaining and fun game to watch. And now that, we have more games on ESPN and, we've had more games on ABC and, it's a lot easier to find women's basketball games. Now suddenly, after almost every game, there's a tweet about, oh, this is the highest rated women's basketball game in history. And then next week it'll be the next highest. Well, yeah, because people are actually seeing us now. And when you have an opportunity to see us and the product that we produce, people who didn't know were like, dang, that's pretty fun to watch. And so it's a credit to a lot of people that have given us this opportunity, and we've taken advantage of it.
JC, I see you shaking head. Talk a little bit about that for us.
Yeah, it's just exciting. Like, I know growing up as a kid, trying to find women's sports to watch, women's basketball to watch, it was hard. Like, I had to go and find all these channels and, like, ask my parents, like, hey, can you buy this subscription so I can watch these teams play? So it's just really great to know that, like, kids, like younger generation of female athletes, are just able to see us and that we're more accessible to them. And it's how we're going to grow the game and continue to like promote women's sports. So it's just super exciting to see.
Before the game Wednesday evening, assistant coach Sierra Gregory talked in the scouting report about hunting sevens. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about hunting sevens. And Jason, you can jump in on this one too, but how important that is. Tell people what that is and kind of how that helps your game.
So we use a shot selection scale to help our players understand what's a good shot and a bad shot. I think it it helps a lot rather than being a coach that's just yelling at your players, hey, that's a bad shot. Like, what does that mean? Like, how do they understand that? How do they comprehend that? So instead of using that language, we want to use our numbers on our shot selection scale, and our players understand, what each number stands for and what type of shot that is. And sevens are the shots you want to try to get the most. I mean, obviously, 8, 9s, those are things like wide open layups. Certainly we'd love to have those, but how many of those are you going to get in college basketball? Not a lot, right? So sevens are, good shots for individuals. Those are good shots for our team. Those are largely uncontested in rhythm after we've moved the ball. And it's just, again, a real easy way for us to identify, what's a good shot for us. And we have felt like, particularly coming off of the ECU game, that we did not hunt sevens. We took some really tough shots, which were not very successful. And as a result, we did not score the ball well. And, that was part when I mentioned earlier about getting back to ourselves and who we are. We play a lot better when we share the ball and find good shots. And so that was a big focus.
Yeah, I mean, I think early in the season we struggled with finding sevens, and we'd been doing a really good job of it. So just like kind of having that brought back to our attention, like, hey, maybe we've drifted away from this a little bit. It was really just an emphasis in the game of like, okay, where can we get each other open and get each other good shots so that we know that we're taking shots that we're going to make.
JC, when you go to the free throw line, that's about a 9.4. So take us through how you get to be such a good free throw shooter.
It's just a lot of practice. Always shooting free throws every day. Like, I know even when I'm tired and when I'm sore, like, I can go in and shoot 50 to 100 free throws, and it's not something that's putting a lot of stress on my body. And I know, like, especially in the off season, like, I try to make free throws as much pressure as I can, even though when it's just me, like, oh, if I miss this many, I'm going to have to do push-ups or I'm going to have to run. It's like giving myself that pressure so when I get out in the game, I don't feel it. But, yeah, it just comes down to that.
12 for 12 at Charleston Southern. That was a pretty good day.
Yeah, it was.
And with JC here, a really good student, Coach. I don't know if we talked about how many 4.0s you had in the fall. I know we mentioned the grade point average. Talk a little bit about the team in the classroom, because I know they've done very well.
Yeah, our team has really taken pride in their academics at probably the highest level of any team that I've had here, which is evidence of, I think we had over a 3.6 cumulative in the fall, and we had 6 young ladies with a 4.0, JC being one of those as well. And, that's commonplace for JC. So it's nice to see her teammates kind of stepping up to her challenge of trying to match, what she does on the academic side. But, again, I think it's a credit to our players. We talk about being your best. We want to challenge our players all the time to be their very best. That's on the court, that's off the court, that's academically, that's in terms of who they are in the community. And I think they take a lot of pride in that. And they took a lot of pride in being their best in the classroom. And, our coaching staff, our academic support here, they certainly do a great job as well. Just kind of staying on top of everything, encouraging, giving reminders, things of that nature. But honestly, this group doesn't really need it that much because they take a lot of pride in it. And that's ultimately, what you want. It's like a parent, right? You don't want to be doing those things for your children. You want your children to want to be doing those things because it's the right thing and it's best for them. And I really feel like they do that.
What was the question?
Yeah, go ahead. Jace, just talk about your discipline, because it takes a lot of discipline to do well in a class like you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I know that I have goals after basketball. And so just staying locked in on that and knowing that, basketball is going to come to an end, sadly, one day, and just knowing that I need to stay locked in on school just as much as I do basketball. Like, I prepare the same way for a test as I do for learning a scout and being ready to go in the game. So it's that same, discipline just carries over in both aspects of my life.
JC, back to basketball. You kind of mentioned, with free throw shooting, that's something you can practice when your body's sore. And it felt like, to me, that Memphis game might have been one of the more physical games we've played this season. Did you kind of feel that as well, and kind of do you feel more of a physicality when it comes to conference games?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel coming into the American, there's an upped level of physicality, and in that Memphis game, for sure felt it. Like, they're a great offensive rebounding team, so I knew it was a lot of work physically to get them boxed out and take care of the boards the way that we needed to. So, yeah, I definitely felt that.
Coach, a lot of it's due to foul trouble, but the last 2 games, Tracy's only scored 9 points, and seven of them came Wednesday night. what are some ways, I guess, we can, keep her out of foul trouble and just, maybe get her involved more offensively?
Well, that's something we're consistently working on. I mean, obviously, post play, as JC just mentioned, in the American, it's so much more physical. So it's tough. It's certainly tougher for our post players than our guards who, aren't in there pounding all the time. And so that's something that obviously is, drawn to our attention, to Tracy's attention, something we talk about a lot. We work on, trying to get her to defend with her hands up. And, I think, post, well, I shouldn't just say post. Players in particular are really good at being like this to the last second. It's like putting your hand in that cookie jar. No, just keep your hands up. So, we emphasize that. We talk about it. We watch film. And so, I mean, that's all we can do is continue to work on it, continue to try to put our players, including Tracy, in the best position. And, hopefully we can get her, on the court a lot more because certainly, she helps us a lot more on the court than off.
Last question, just this road trip, playing SMU, they're similar to us in conference standings. North Texas is first. And do you think this could be a season-defining road trip, one way or another, whether we come away with wins or losses?
I don't want to think of it that way, Reese. I don't think that's helpful for us. Honestly, I really just think we need to worry about SMU and playing the very best that we can. If we're worried about the wrong things of what this road trip could mean and where we could be in the standings, and I just think that's a waste of our energy. If we can just stay focused on, building momentum after playing really well on Wednesday, continuing to close the gap on some of the things we're not doing well, like turning the ball over, rebounding, things of that nature. If we can just focus on that and bring good energy and effort, I think we'll feel good about Sunday. And then after Sunday, we'll figure out what's next. And that's, I think our team is best when we focus on ourselves mostly and stay in the moment.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody.